Well, welcome this afternoon to Recovery for Life. I'm John, and as part of our Tyne's Model Recovery for Life campaign for Support by Talk, I'm delighted to have you here this afternoon. So why don't you introduce yourself?
So I'm Alisha Cowie. I'm Miss England 2018, a previous Miss Newcastle and a Tyne's model. I studied crime scene investigation and forensic science at Teesside University, and in my spare time I enjoy things like ballroom dance and surfing.
Oh, excellent. Well, Alicia, we're delighted to have you here this afternoon.
Thank you.
Now, looking at you, you've reeled off, you've clearly got brains, you've got beauty, you've won these titles. Surely you've got a perfect life.
That's something people kind of expect, especially for social media and things.
Right.
It's kind of laid out, and people do think you have that given to you and kind of everything laid on a plate, but it's not really.
It's not been that case though, has it?
No, it's not the reality of things, really.
So we were talking a little bit earlier about some of the issues you have dealt with, and we really thank you for coming here today and raising them, because there'll be a lot of people who'll be looking at you and thinking, what relation could I have with her or whatever. But if you don't mind, we'll touch on, first of all, you said you have had some problems with eating disorders before. So do you mind telling us a little bit about that?
When I was about 11 or 12, I started to watch my weight, because as a child I was always bullied for being like bigger, and so I started to watch what I was eating. It kind of just spiraled into this big, out of control eating disorder. I was limiting myself to like 300 calories a day. I'd weigh all of my food. I just remember eating rice all the time, but weighing it, and that's probably the only thing I'd eat for the whole day, maybe an apple. And then I started to lose loads and loads of weight. I could actually do that around my thigh, so that was how big my thigh was when I was about 12, 13, and I think I weighed about 6 stone.
Right.
So it was quite bad.
So it's and during that period, if you don't mind me asking, how did you feel about yourself? Did you, when you looked at yourself, did you think you saw what everybody else saw?
Now I look back on pictures, I always think, how on earth did I think that I was fat? Because back then I'd look at myself and like pinch things and be like, oh, I need to lose this, I need to look like this or this, and now I look back, it's like it was just, my mind was telling me I was a lot bigger than I was, and I was seeing things that weren't actually there.
Right.
Now I look back, I can see that, but at the time I just had no idea.
It's funny how you can get yourself into that mindset though. But also you did touch on the fact that a lot of you, when you had been younger, you were bullied for being told you were too big or you're too fat or whatever. How much did that shape your sort of view of yourself and your self-esteem, do you think?
Quite a lot. I think, I can't remember, but my dad told me the youngest, when I came home from nursery once, I was about 5, and I didn't want to eat anything because he told me that people would call me fat. So it kind of started really young, but I didn't realise it. Right,
and it just grew from that period. Do you, when you look at pictures when you were much younger, what do you see? Were you very big or?
No, it was just an average
normal
5 to 12-year-old. Like, it was just absolutely normal, totally average sized. When I got to around 10, I did put a bit of weight on, but nothing horrendous. It wasn't. I wasn't obese or. No. Because if I was, my parents would have got it in control. But now I look back, it's just crazy to think that I was ever even called fat by anyone else. Or anyone calling a 5 to 10-year-old fat anyways, a little bit.
It's crazy, isn't it? It really is. So, moving on from that, in terms of what changed, how did you reconcile and deal with this? What caused the change for you? From the eating disorders.
From after, how did I get better?
What was the moment that changed this?
My best friend committed suicide in 2013.
Sorry to hear.
Yeah, when we were 13, so I think it was 2012 it happened. And from then on, because I used to self-harm and not eat anything and kind of deprive myself that way.
So was this before your friend's death?
Yeah. And then she kind of helped me start eating again, actually.
Right.
But then when she passed away and took her own life, that was when I realised that I had to stop harming myself, really. Because I seen what that had done to me and how her death affected me emotionally and physically. So I thought, well, I'm literally doing the same to my family. They knew that I self-harmed, but they couldn't help me.
Right.
So feeling that hurt that she'd basically passed on to me, I knew then what I was doing to my family.
And that was the shock that sort
yeah.
of brought you around. And in terms of, you said the self-harm, people couldn't help. When you were harming yourself, do you remember why you were doing it? Or what the thought process was around that?
I don't know. I think it sounds really silly, but I think it got into a habit of... It was kind of the only thing I could control, because I was feeling so many different things. The two ways I could control what I was feeling was to stop eating and obviously to cut my arms and things. So.
Right. And luckily you didn't do any permanent damage with the cutting and stuff.
No.
Because one of the unfortunate things when you're dealing with self-harm is people might sort of be cutting, but they don't realise how deep they go, and that can cause permanent damage. So you were quite lucky, really.
Yeah, and I've actually, I'm really lucky I don't have scars or anything.
Right.
I have a few on my legs actually,
Right.
but tiny ones that you wouldn't even know that were there if. So I'm really lucky that I haven't done any permanent damage, like physical. Yeah.
So all this built up to the stage, then your friend sadly took her life.
Mm-hmm.
What was the aftermath of that? You said that was the trigger that sort of emotionally sort of helped you deal with what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
So how did you go about? What was the actual changes you made afterwards?
I was actually in the process of moving schools.
Right.
So the week before she passed, I had actually moved school. So it happened on this Saturday night, early Sunday morning, and I went to school on the Monday because I just didn't want to be at home and in the house where I had memories with her. So I tried to go to school and I just couldn't deal with it. But I just tried to carry things on as normal, really. I went to counselling and I carried that on through the end of school and through college. And from then on I was open with my mum about how I felt. My mum was really close with my friend too, so it hurt my mum just as much as it hurt me. So
yeah. So, and did the counselling help?
I think it did, but it was kind of something I dreaded to go to. I didn't go that often, just when I felt like I needed it.
Right.
But I think it did help just to talk to someone to listen rather than telling my mum, because my mum had the same attachment that I did.
Yeah.
So we both just ended up crying together. And but yeah, counselling did help, but I think it helped more a few years after. Once I'd come to terms with it, it helped just sort of make peace with it rather than think about it all the time.
No, and I'm so pleased that you've been able to come through it. So, how do you feel now? Because obviously it's still not that long ago.
No, about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I do think about it every day, but it's something that you can't change. I mean, you can't really dwell on things, can you? So I always think things happen for a reason. So I obviously, and that reason was it made me recover from everything. And as sad as that sounds, if that didn't happen, maybe it would have been me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's no disrespect to your friend at all.
No.
It's just that actually it's looking
at
the positive that sort of has
you,
come out.
You need to pull everything positive.
Absolutely.
And that's something I've learned over the years.
So how do you feel now? You're in a really high profile role.
Yeah.
You're going in for Miss World. In 17 days time you fly out.
Yeah.
And we're all rooting for you here. So, but you're in the spotlight. You've got a huge social media presence, a platform coming, and supporting you, and comments, etc. How are you going to protect yourself within all of this? Because there's a lot of pressure on you there, isn't there?
I think just take time out for myself. So on a night, I'll just switch my phone off and spend time with my family, or just even watching telly and just chilling out for a little bit, and just make sure I have me time. just make sure I get to chill.
Yeah, okay, that's good. And do you do anything else? What advice would you give to, say, anybody, because there's an increasing number of boys who are having problems with body dysmorphia and body image issues? What would you say to any sort of young person coming through who might be facing the issues or worried or they've been called fat at school or it's changed their behaviours and what they do?
I think the thing that I didn't reach out to anyone, and I feel like it's so important, and everyone probably hears it all of the time, but even if you just have like a thought once or twice every now and then, like you need to go and talk to someone about it, because it can develop into something more. Don't feel stupid about what you're thinking, because that's something I did as well. It was like, oh, I'm like going crazy basically, but if you talk to someone, then they'll totally understand, and if they don't, then you speak to the wrong person.
Okay, so that's fabulous. And again, I mean, we're all rooting for you for Miss World, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Is there any other advice you'd like to give to out there? And I mean, as we said, you've got a bright future ahead of you. You're very grounded, which is you're a very strong person. So where do you see, what's the future looking like for you?
Hopefully successful. I've come a long way since then, and that's just because I've pulled through. I seeked help when I needed it. Just keep that mindset of, if you've got a goal, just keep your focus on it, because if you've got something you can focus on, you'll work through absolutely anything.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Alisha, lovely to meet you.
Thank you.
Good luck,
you.
and we'll look forward to seeing you win.
Thank you.
Thank you.